What up, time travelers? You're listening to the Future of Show, where we dive deep into all topics of the future. Today, we'll be talking about blockchain technology and the fundamental inner workings of what makes this technology awesome. And we'll be talking about this with Tariq Wassem, who's the founder of Blockchain GSU. If you like this podcast, please rate us a 5-star and enjoy.
Tim, thanks for having me on the podcast. Yeah, I started a organization that teaches students, college students, about blockchain and crypto. It also feels off of like my passion of just learning more about it. So I thought it would be a good outlet for me.
Nice. Tell us about yourself personally and how you got into crypto and blockchain.
So personally, uh, I'm from California, um, but I've been in Georgia for about 14 years. So I basically lived most of my life here. I've always been interested in tech. From a young age, I was obsessed with like the dark web, exploring the side of the internet that like the average person can access. We're kind of like the internet we see today is like the tip of the iceberg, and the dark web is kind of like the rest of the internet. So from
Right.
there, when I was looking around high school, I came across Bitcoin, and because Bitcoin was the currency that was used mostly on the dark web, and started reading into it. And then 2017 happened. It was a bull run, and after that, I kind of just focused more on the tech, and that's when I got more into blockchain. And then that's how my college community formed, which was Blockchain GSU. It was Crypto GSU before because we were a crypto group, but the dynamic folk switched. And now I'm here sitting today as current founder, president of the blockchain organization, hosting events like workshops, technical workshops, fundamental workshops. I'm bringing in people from the outside to come talk about blockchain, professionals from the likes of like last this year we had BitPay. They're a big payment processor in the crypto space, and I do a bit of like consulting on the side. If someone has a question, I'll help them out, and I'm just putting some value behind my skills. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Awesome. That it sounds like you've been in the space for a while, and you saw the 2017, bull run. Now we're in the 2020 bull run. So there's a lot going on in the space right now. So Tariq, can you tell us about a little bit of the fundamentals of blockchain and how it differs from cryptocurrency, how it is related, and the common terminology within the community, and just so people that don't have any clue what blockchain is could understand in a high level way.
Yeah, so blockchain is it's a database, and it's composed of the word that comprises blockchain, blocks and chains. So blocks, it's where you store information, and the chains is what brings that information together into like one unit. Um, it's stored on a decentralized public ledger, and this means decentralized means the information is stored across a vast network where there is no central weak point, as of with traditional systems. Public means that all the information that's stored on the blockchain can be viewed by the public. It's transparent. There's no one withholding information. All of it's recorded on the blockchain, and a user like us can go ahead and on the internet and search for that blockchain and find the information we need. Well, the only information you'll only be able to see, especially with Bitcoin's blockchain, is who it's being sent to, who's receiving, and the amount. And then when I get to Ledger, think of it like an Excel spreadsheet. The way that data is recorded is there's rows and there's columns, and it's just filled in. With one entry goes on line one entry goes on line two, and it just keeps adding to the list. So the way the information stores on Ledger, it's also very transparent. That's where we get with public and decentralized. So it's just another way of storing information in a more secure way, as opposed to traditional systems without someone controlling it entirely. It's controlled by the community. That's
So,
kind of what a
so
blockchain.
we're gonna get into the term of governance, right? So, what does governance mean?
Yeah. So since we're leaving the blockchain solely up to the computer, there needs to be a form of consensus between the two parties that participate on the blockchain and everyone who participates. When it comes to governments, it's like how do we make decisions? So that's where consensus comes along. Um, the blockchain has built into the protocol a list of requirements, and if those requirements are met, then consensus can be reached and transactions can go through. There's no one really on the blockchain, like a physical person who goes and checks everything. It's totally up to the protocol.
And the protocol can be influenced by the community of users, correct?
Um, it the parameters can be influenced, but
Okay, the
that really depends
parameters.
on blockchain. But
Gotcha.
for the most part, if the parameters are met, then the transaction can go through.
And is that what a smart contract is, correct?
Smart contracts are custom programs that can be written on the blockchain to do higher level functions, um, as apart from what the blockchain was designed for.
So anyone can write a smart contract if they know how to code specifically.
Yeah. So
Uh,
you could write a smart contract for, let's say, you were
for this podcast, let's just say that like you would have to show up to this podcast, and after you leave, you get a like a token, podcast token. Is that something that is possible with smart contracts?
yeah. So you can code. It's kind of like an if-then statement. You could code in if so and so shows up for this allotted amount of time. The allotted amount of time would verify whether he actually attended the podcast or not and record it. And then, as soon as it's done, you can then tell the contract to release a token to the whoever showed up for the podcast, and that would happen automatically because it was already implemented within the smart contract.
Wow, that's pretty sick. I should patent that technology before someone steals it.
Yeah,
Pod
you should.
token, Podcoin. Um, okay,
Podcoin, you should do
what
that.
what code do you write smart contracts in, or what is blockchain like? What can you manipulate blockchain with? What kind of code?
So, if we're talking about blockchains that allow you to build applications on top of them, we're talking about, for the most part, Ethereum, and the language to code smart contracts is Solidity.
Solidity.
It's a combination of, I believe, JavaScript and C. I know a little bit of it just because I've also wanted to create a smart contract once to do like a very simple function. But yeah, we're talking about Ethereum. Ethereum is the blockchain that lets you actually build stuff on top of it, as opposed to Bitcoin's blockchain that doesn't let you build. That's primarily why Ethereum popped up in the first place,
Because it's a
to give
platform
freedom.
for other platforms, basically.
Yeah, it's a platform for developers to expand upon the idea that Bitcoin doesn't bring.
Gotcha. So that means now we can get into the conversation that Bitcoin isn't actually as valuable as we think it is because there's a bunch of altcoins or alternative coins that provide specialized value that Bitcoin doesn't.
Yeah, Bitcoin is, I think it's a good store of value, and it can be the equivalent to like digital gold. Was designed for payments, um, but blockchain can be used for much more than just payments. And developers know that. And with anybody who wants to think outside the box, like there's a bunch of creatives in the space. They want to do what Bitcoin can. So that's when altcoins popped up. Ethereum enabled developers to build applications as opposed to just sticking with the same old sending money back and forth. I think Bitcoin serves its purpose, but it doesn't serve everyone's purpose. So we need, just like any ecosystem, you need alternatives. And there's gonna be a better alternative, maybe, but right now, as it stands, Bitcoin is the OG out of all of them for
Got it.
cryptocurrency.
Got it. And there's so much I want to talk about with crypto because I want people to be able to like understand common terminology. So let's keep diving. Let's try to get outside of the rabbit hole and keep diving into high level concepts. So if I wanted to send you cryptocurrency, you know, we would. I want people to understand that we have two wallets. All right. So these are called digital wallets, and every unique user will have a wallet that they can then have unique codes and send it to another person, right? Just simplifying
Yeah.
transactions.
Yeah, the wallet is basically like your identity. Since everything is pretty much handled anonymously, in a sense, um, no one will ever ask for your personal information. It's supposed to be designed like this is my wallet, this is who I am, this is my address. Go ahead and just send it to me. Um, if you're doing it with like a random person, they wouldn't know your name, but if it's your friend, they would just know you by your wallet, not anything else. So what they're sending it to is your what they call a public key. It's kind of like your address, your home address. If you ask someone to send stuff to you, you ask them to send it to your home address, and it goes to like a PO box or your mailbox. Same thing with crypto. You ask for some crypto, you give them your wallet address, and it gets sent to your wallet, which would kind of be like your mailbox. You don't have to do anything. All you would have to do is if you're sending the currency, you would just have to get the other person's wallet and send it to them. They don't have to do anything. They'll just wait, just like a mailbox.
Right. Okay. So what about Bitcoin mining? Like, how does that work, or just mining in general in the crypto space?
So I think a lot of people think they don't really understand why mining happens, and that's actually a very core part of why the blockchain, that's whatever's being mined, is up. So miners are the ones who are actually supporting the network and keeping it chugging along. Because in order for these transactions to be verified, a miner needs to be able to solve the.
The algorithm.
Actually, let me step back a bit. So the transactions on the blockchain are sent like they are. In order to verify, the algorithm needs to be solved because it comes in encrypted and needs to be decrypted for the message to be read. So the miners are in charge of decrypting this very long, hard algorithm, and once they solve it, they can verify the transaction, and then the fees that you pay to transact Bitcoin on the blockchain, they get a cut of. So that's kind of their payment for verifying your transaction on the blockchain, and they get a little piece of what they verified. So that's their payment.
So let's just kind of like visualize this. So like if I'm sending one thing, like it's kind of like a train going from one destination to another, and then the miners are like the the people who are conducting the train and putting the coal in the train and to keep it running.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay.
Um, I'd say they're
And
the ones who
they're
direct
taxing
traffic.
you're taxing as well. So are the money is the money that they earn from mining? It's essentially passive income, but I know it takes a lot of power, like storage power
Yeah,
and what computing power.
that's probably the one like very important like business cost to them that can make or break a miner. Depending on what they pay for energy, can make or break them.
So can someone just hook up their laptop, their MacBook Pro, and just go mine something right now, or does it do that have to have like a huge like
Um,
storage of?
you wouldn't be very profitable. Like let's say we're talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's network has scaled out so far that the bigger the network gets, the harder it is to solve the algorithms. Algorithms. That's why companies set up huge farms, warehouses. You need a lot of hardware and you need a lot of uh, processing power. Bitcoin currently uses ASICs to mine. Not exactly sure what an ASIC is, but it's a very powerful piece of hardware, usually a custom made. But for other coins like Ethereum, you can mine using GPUs. So that's why you hear a lot in the gaming community sometimes that all these miners are taking away all the good GPUs like the 3080. Um, a lot of miners targeted that specifically because it was, I guess, what they say the best, and it can process a lot faster than other GPUs.
Okay, so could essentially like what is the startup cost for like a miner like to be profitable and just like actually start an operation? How much computing power do they need? Whatnot. Just
Um,
curious.
I'm I'm not exactly sure. I'm not actually. I don't mind very much, but from what I've seen, people have been able to get. It's you can make people have like spent like 5 grand on a mining rig, and that's like a 6 GPU setup, and have only been able to make like a couple dollars a day. Uh,
Oh my god.
yeah,
And they're
so
paying like a
it's passive.
bunch in power
It's
bills.
passive income, but it's very like minimal unless you're doing a large scale operation because you're competing with every single other miner on that blockchain.
What country is doing mining the most right now? Is it China? Is it the United States? Like, where's
I think
mining prevalent?
I think it's definitely overseas. Um, I think there are like firms who are mining in the US, but most of the busy work is being done overseas. For Bitcoin, I know that.
Do you see any innovation in this space, in the mining space, in the future?
Yeah, I actually do. When it comes down to cooling is another thing. Just imagine having 8 or 20 GPUs in one area. You know how much heat that produces.
And
So
hold
in
up,
order to
what is a GPU, by the way?
oh, it's a graphics processor unit. Kind of what gives your computer good graphics.
Okay.
A lot
And
of gamers use it.
why do miners need this if they don't even use graphics or?
'Cause I think it's because the more like processing power you have, the faster it is to solve these algorithms on the blockchain.
Right. Okay.
Um,
But you don't actually need
so
like a display or anything. You just need the raw
no,
computing.
no, you just yeah, like the simplest. If you want to build a mining rig of your own, the parts you'll basically need is GPUs, motherboard, CPU, um, some good airflow. You'll just need like a bunch of wires. Like the most expensive part you'll probably spend on buying a mining rig and building it is buying all the GPUs. The
Got it.
rest
Got it.
is you don't even need a case. Like I've seen people take Home Depot crates and like cut them in half and hang the cards with zip ties on top. So like it's good airflow, but it looks like a set of like a very basic rig that's
Right.
designed for one purpose, and that's mining.
Awesome. I didn't mean to interrupt you, by the way. You were saying something about innovation and cooling in the future.
Oh yeah, no, you good. Yeah, so there's cooling is a big thing when it comes to mining because the rigs can overheat. The rigs are the units, and there's a lot of innovation going on where how to cool the GPUs and the rigs and like where to like place them. So some companies are like going up in the mountains where it's really cold and setting up their rigs there. Some people are doing water cooling where they submerge the rigs in water
What?
to evenly distribute and
That's cool.
keep it from like melting. Um, there's different ways to mine now. Like instead of miners, the algorithm that's commonly for Bitcoin is proof of work. So
Okay.
there needs to be proof that the miner had worked to solve the algorithm, and that's how they get their incentive. There's also another algorithm, like more innovation coming out, like proof of stake. So instead of mining, you can have a stake in the network, and from that stake, you can get passive income just by holding a stake in the network. Because every time, it's not really like, I guess, kind of stocks. It's kind of like the same thing. Like you're buying a stake in the company. With crypto, you're buying a stake in the company in a sense. Because when you buy their currency, it's what's native to their blockchain. So you're buying a stake. So when
Right.
it's proof of stake, instead of having miners verify, the stakeholders verify. And so that's a way to reduce energy costs without having the need for miners.
What do they verify? Like, what are
Mm.
like? I'm confused on that end.
So they would basically act as like validators, kind of like delegates. If whoever holds like the most currency, um, they can decide what changes go on in the blockchain, and they are basically designated as the the like verification group, as opposed to miners who would have to set up hardware and validate each transaction.
Would they just like be
So
clicking a button or something that says verified? Or
no, no. So they would be given like a node, and that would carry out. But only the high stakeholders would be given a node. The everybody else who has not very much of the currency, like a not very much of a stake,
right?
wouldn't be given. So it would be
Just the
it would
whales.
be yeah, just the whales in a
Got it.
sense.
Got it. Yeah,
So
I'm
that's
really
the innovation.
excited for that space because it's as cryptocurrency grows, we're gonna need more miners and we need to drive down energy costs, and that's gonna be a whole innovative space within crypto.
Yeah, it comes down to like sustainability. Um,
I feel like
there's a
they're.
lot of like
Go ahead.
like no, you go.
um, I feel like maybe big tech like Tesla, renewable energy within that space, solar energy. I feel like a lot of that, anything that's reusable energy, could be something that is very efficient with this type of space. So I'm excited to see how those spaces and resources intertwine in the future.
Yeah, and I'll just add one thing. If you're in college and you live in a dorm and you want to mine, take advantage of the electricity cost. Because I
It's
did
actually a good
that
idea.
sophomore year
Yeah.
of college. I was living Georgia. I go to Georgia State, and I was living in the dorms, and I thought, hey, I paid for the dorm, and there's electricity here, so let me take advantage of it. So I set
Yeah,
up
it's a fixed
around
cost.
20, yeah, fixed cost. Around 2017, I set up my first GPU rig, and I started mining in my dorm.
Wow.
Luckily, my roommates like to keep it really cold, so I didn't have a problem with air circulation and like my things heating up. But I had to turn it off at one point because it got a bit too much, even with it being really cold. But I was able to milk the university system for their energy, and that pretty much got rid of my um,
This man was
cost to
making
pay.
passive. Were you making a good amount of money or what?
Yeah, this was around when Ethereum was
And
really
you can
low.
you can mine any cryptocurrency, correct? Not just Bitcoin.
It has to be mineable. So some cryptocurrencies have set supplies that are allocated um, depending on the protocol, and they can't be mined, and then some others can be mined. It just depends on how does that blockchain verify transactions.
That's interesting. Okay, wait, don't
Yeah.
doesn't all blockchain verify transact? Isn't that the whole purpose of a blockchain?
Yeah, they do, but they all have like a different way of doing it.
Got it. Can
So
you
not
can you give
all
us an
coins can be
example of like a coin that doesn't, so we can just kind of understand?
mined. Stable coins can't be mined.
So like DAI, like
So
USD,
like DAI, USDC, Tether. Tether can be minted, but it can't be mined.
it can be
These
what?
are coins that are like they can be minted, so
What is that?
they're like a currency in itself. Like when the U.S. mints their currency, like they just pump money, money printer go burr, you know
Gotcha,
that. Like
gotcha.
Tether can do the same as of USDC, but all they're doing is creating a coin that's reflective to the U.S. dollar. So it just tracks that
Yeah.
price, but it's in the form of crypto.
So they can inflate that coin at will. Like who can inflate the coin, by the way? Because I'm kind of confused on that end.
Um,
Like
actually, that's a good
there's
question.
no like treasurer because it's decentralized. So, like who's to say like, oh, we can put more money into this?
I'd have to look into that. That's actually a
Yeah.
really good question. I didn't even think of that. I was like, let me just buy the stable coin and it tracks US dollar, but who's stopping from someone from just going in and tanking this crypto?
Right, right. That's very interesting. There must be like a protocol or something that's enabled for that.
Yeah. But
I
yeah,
know
those coins.
we just went into a rabbit hole of mining. I think mining is a very interesting space, by the way. So thank you for explaining all of that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's get back to our main point, which is high level terminology, so everybody can really understand. So DeFi is a huge thing in the space. What is DeFi?
Yeah, so DeFi stands for decentralized finance. It allows low income, bankless, um, not rich but not poor people to access large pools of wealth. So it gives everyone, it puts everyone on an equal playing field.
Wow.
With traditional systems, only the big big money can play with big money. That's not
Right.
really always the case, but
Right.
I'm just saying of traditional systems. It's very hard for people who don't have a bank. people who don't have like Social Security to access these type of investments. Um, Young people can only leverage the money they have. They don't get to have the opportunity to mainly earn it. The thing that DeFi tackles is giving access up to large amounts of wealth for people to take part and invest in. And they do this by creating platforms where you can the cryptocurrency that you have, you can lend your crypto out and earn an interest on it when people borrow it from you. So it creates this whole P2P system, like person to person, where
So
someone
you
can
so
request.
someone is like a bank in that sense. Like the your peer
Yeah,
can
so
be a
you
bank.
become yeah, so you become like your own bank, and you can take out loans um, with
You
very
can
little
yeah.
interest.
Wow.
You can lend out your money, earn some passive income. Since your wallet is your identity, and it normally they don't ask you your personal information, you don't need. No one's gonna check your credit. No one's gonna ask if you have like a bank. No one's gonna ask like what's your identification. You can just make it, and that's kind of why the government is kind of wants to suppress us because now
Right,
we're just
right.
having people start
Become
moving
banks.
money around.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
become banks. They don't like that. They're like, okay, let's.
Well, we have these huge established banks that we've established for years and centuries. Like, why are you guys just gonna come out and
Yeah,
you know? Yeah.
but I think it goes much deeper than that. It's the people who use these services, like myself. Um, we believe like the money we make is truly ours, and if we want access to it, we shouldn't have to request access from somebody else who's taking care of it to access
Right.
our money.
Right.
And that's the whole idea of around the time that the I'll just go back a little bit, but this mentality comes from when the Bitcoin white paper was published. It was published around 2009, and around year before that, I believe it was the stock market crash. The whole problem with that was the stock market crashed, and people had money in the bank, but they weren't able to take it out because either it wasn't there or they just didn't have access to it. And this whole idea of the money that I worked for, I couldn't get it when I needed it. So
Right.
that's what DeFi is trying to solve, and that's what cryptocurrencies are trying to solve. You have sole access over your funds, and you should be able to have sole access with what you do with it.
Yeah. You don't have
And
to
there
go to a
shouldn't.
bank and say, "Oh, I want to withdraw my money." It's like you always have that capability.
Yeah, I mean it's good for convenience, but when it comes down to you thinking like, I've worked hard for this, I should have full control, when I need it the most, and if I don't have it, like what's wrong with the system? Like why are they so
Right, and then
why are they so
we see times in history, like the Great Depression, where people are running to their banks and trying to get withdraw their money, and the banks would say like would close down and say, "We don't have your money, go away." That is a huge problem in itself, right? That's where we see the error of centralized currencies.
Yeah. So that's what DeFi um, propels this mentality forward. I think for more people to start using it, they have to understand where the whole idea of controlling your own money came from, and then see how they can make their money work for them. And that's what DeFi unlocks.
Yeah,
It's
that's
great for like passive income because before you would hold a crypto and you would kind of just hold it. You'd be a holder. It would just kind of be sitting there. You wouldn't be really
hopefully.
like making it work for you. Now you can make your money work for you. Like your currency, let's say it's down, but you have a lot. You can lend your currency out to somebody who will use it and make passive income off of it.
So, what coins are we talking about? Are we talking about comp? Like, what
Yeah, we're talking about Compound, um, Ave, talking about. There's a bunch of those are the protocols where you can lend to, but like the coins you can lend to them pretty much ranges from Bitcoin, Ethereum, DAI, wrapped Bitcoin. This is a new thing. I can talk about wrapped Bitcoin later, but
is that a fork of Bitcoin?
it's I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it allows Bitcoin to be used on the Ethereum blockchain, which wasn't possible before.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, well let's dive into forks and halves. halvings or
Hmm.
halvings, whatever. So
Yeah.
what are those?
So a fork is when um, basically like two communities break off from each other, but they take the source code with it. So what happened with the most notable fork would be, I don't want to talk about that one, but let's talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. So this
Okay,
is the one that I,
BCH, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
BCH is the fake, one of the fake ones. That's just my opinion.
Oh, I
It's
gotta check
backed
out
by
my
this guy named
BCH.
Roger. Yeah, so Roger Ver is the guy who is head of like the VCH, and around the time when this fork happened, well, I'll get to what a fork is. So the fork is what happened with the Bitcoin community is that two people had different. There was two groups. There's two sides within the Bitcoin community. One believed something else, and the other person believed on Bitcoin. So what they had done is that they forked the blockchain, basically made a copy of it, and then progressed it on another track. So just imagine having one like train track, and then a group splitting off from that train track and going like their own direction. But it was the same source code. It was just a little bit different.
Like
So
copy
it split the
paste,
blockchain in two. Yeah, they copy pasted, and the blockchain Bitcoin just kept going, and
and they
then the
and
new
then
group
they
appeared.
edited, copy paste plus
Yeah,
editing.
they basically edited it. So that's how Bitcoin Cash was formed. And the whole problem that I don't like talking about it is because around the time when this happened, I mean, whoever held Bitcoin got a copy of what was sent to Bitcoin Cash because it was forked from the same network. That's the benefit of forking. Whoever was in group one gets part of group two. Um, but it's only for people who were there when it was forked. If you came after, you didn't get it because it was just like joining a new group. But
Oh, okay.
going back to why I don't like talking about it's because Roger Ver around the time kept advertising that Bitcoin Cash was Bitcoin. So it got a lot of
Oh
people
no!
confused and they started investing into Bitcoin Cash when they wanted to invest in Bitcoin.
Wow.
So he kind of like flipped a switch on a lot of like newbies, a lot of people got
Yeah, right.
confused and the two communities like I guess they got beef still, but as you can see Bitcoin is booming and Bitcoin Cash is still down there. So
Dude,
whatever he
BCH,
tried
it just pumps like every once in a while. Like, it
yeah,
just pumps super high.
it's a little bit weird. So, what was the other question aside from forks?
Having.
Yeah, so having is it's a very important thing when it comes to like the supply and demand of crypto and like the sustainability of and this is having is specific to Bitcoin's blockchain. So, it was pre-coded in for the block reward to cut in half every 4 years. The
So
block reward is
it's a fixed date every 4 years.
yeah, it's a fixed date and it's a
Got
fixed
it.
amount.
Got it.
It's every 4 years, the block reward on the Bitcoin blockchain will cut in half by half. So it started off at around 50. I think maybe it started off higher, but it was 50, went down to 25, went down to half that. Um, it was like 12.5, and then it went down to half that, which was very recent this year, and now it's around 6.25. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's around 6.25 per block. That's mine. And when I mean blocks that are mined, it's not new Bitcoin that's going into circulation. It's there can only be 21 million Bitcoin ever. There will
Gotcha.
never
Is
be
it
more. And
scarcity?
yeah, and when Bitcoin is being mined, it's not being minted, it's just being released into circulation. So that's a lot
Right.
of thing that's people don't really understand. They're not creating more Bitcoin. There's never going to be any more Bitcoin.
They're just cutting
Um,
off a piece of
it's
cake that they already had to
Yeah,
give
they're
it
just
away.
cutting off a piece of cake and giving it to everybody else for them to
Right, right.
trade
Right,
whatever they want to do with it.
right.
Um, so that's the importance of the halving. Um, So as you see, if it starts cutting in half, you'll go down from 6.25 to half that, and then half that. And so the amount of Bitcoin that will be entering circulation will be decreased. And then as Bitcoin keeps rising, the demand will increase for it because there's
Wow.
a lack of Bitcoin in circulation.
Yeah.
So that's why someone like me, who strongly believes in it, if someone asks me, do you think it's going up? I just think of basic supply and demand. If there's not
Right.
much in circulation, everyone's buying up the supply that's in circulation today. What's the competition going to be like to get your hands on it in a couple years from now?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So it has no choice but to go up. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do other coins have other than Bitcoin?
Not that I know of. Bitcoin is the only example
So
I can
what
think of.
happens
And
when what happens in the future when Bitcoin just runs out? Like there's no more. Do we
I
just
think
fork
then,
another Bitcoin or what?
um, no, I don't think so. Maybe it depends on like what the community wants, but I see it as Bitcoin is just gonna become like digital gold.
Right.
It's gonna become that one asset that whoever got an early bought, and it's hard to come by. And then that's when the altcoins will step in, because people will realize that, oh, it's very hard to find Bitcoin now, so let's move over to these altcoins that are still very like low cap and very cheap. Um, I think because what happens is every time Bitcoin goes up, money flows out of the alts and into Bitcoin. Every time Bitcoin goes down, people pull money out and put them into alts.
Right. And that's
So
yeah.
when Bitcoin reaches a certain point where it's like 100K or like 200K, um, people will start looking at alts. Because I've seen that with like my friends and family. They think Bitcoin's gone up too much, and there's like what money can be made. So let me target like a penny stock equivalent, and try and make more money from that.
Yeah, like a Dogecoin or whatever.
Yeah, Dogecoin is it's a meme, and
Yeah, it's definitely
I'd
a
say I took part in a couple pump and dumps, but just for that reason,
meme.
I think this year something happened on TikTok where someone posted about it and it pumped crazy. Like
So let's
I
talk
think,
about market manipulation since we're in that topic.
yeah,
Obviously, all types of markets can be manipulated, but especially with crypto since it's so early stage. What are your
yeah.
opinions on the future of trading and market manipulation in general?
So the future of trading, I think it's moving a lot towards utilizing AI, use like bots, just getting smart with the trading, and having that protection against the volatility. I think people are adopting the dollar cost average strategy when trading these currencies because um, it's proven to, if you just buy like a little over time, you're protected from the volatility based on the average cost you're buying Bitcoin at. And this is great for young people like us. If you just want to invest like $10 every other week from the paycheck you get, in the long run, you'll be protected from the high cost and volatility of the currency that you're investing in. So that's a lot of things that people are adopting. Um, People are still doing traditional trading like day trading and stuff, but that requires a lot of focus and attention, especially with a market that never closes, a market that's
Yeah,
open
exactly.
24/7, highly volatile, still very speculative, but we're getting somewhere. And then copy trading is a thing now where you can actually trade based on somebody else's um, strategy.
This is just
You're basically
signal,
copying their trades.
like signal chats or what? What do you mean?
Um, it's kind of like there's a platform called eToro, and they're known for copy trading. So basically, you send funds to a trader, and he allocates those funds exactly like his portfolio. So you're copying all of his trades. So
Hmm.
you're taking people who are good at trading and you're allocating funds to them so they can use it exactly like how they are, and then they take a cut of your profits. And so this kind of these people who want to get into trading kind of don't have to worry about
But those people that are trading are
their
probably
own.
just using bots, right?
Yeah, maybe. Um, maybe they are. Maybe they're using some tools we don't know. And there's a couple of groups you can join, like signal groups. You can join for trading, and you can buy services online that track trends in the crypto space. Like there's one bot, one platform that tracks the amount of hashtags on Twitter that are used for certain currencies and like how many people are talking about it. How likely is it
Oh,
to go up? How likely is it to go down?
yeah, that's sick.
Um, so there's a lot of tools coming out.
Cool. So let's get to the future of blockchain crypto. What space do you think will will adopt blockchain the fastest, and what space do you think will have the highest impact from blockchain?
I think I think the lending space, like lending and borrowing, will be a big thing.
With the
Cause
DeFi?
yeah, with the DeFi, cause
Yeah.
you can save money, but you can also make it work for you. And when people start to realize that their money can work for you, that would be a game changer. Um, and then once the U.S. starts getting more accepting to these currencies, it'll be much easier to cash out. The banking system will definitely be affected too, because that is the core fundamental idea of being your own bank.
Right.
Regulation will have to come, as you know, it's hit pretty hard this year, but it's always going to hit hard with something that's new and that people don't understand.
Yeah.
I think as far as blockchain goes, food, food tracking, supply chain, when it comes down to keeping track of where things are, that's being heavily utilized. It's also being utilized with communication, um,
Really? How?
and like secure encryption, like having encrypted conversations, um, very secure conversations, because blockchain utilizes cryptography, and if you can
Cryptography.
utilize it to send a message back and forth, it becomes more secure than having an open line. And then we can also use,
So a lot of privacy, basically, is what you're saying.
yeah,
Got
privacy. It's
it. Yep.
privacy focused. But I think a really big one that as like a musician myself and someone who likes music, um, I think the biggest problem right now in the music space is people getting paid for their work. One thing you see a lot on TikTok is people who create dances, people who create songs, they're not getting credit for the songs they create because it goes viral with somebody else. And in the end,
Yeah.
these people don't realize that they could have made a lot of money off the songs that they've made.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen a lot of times. So, one application for blockchain is the origin of where being able to recognize the origin of where the song was created
The
and give
source.
full royalty and rights to the creator. So it's very good at tracking when things were incepted, like when was the music like the inception, and how to reward based on the performance
So
from
it
the
could be
start.
like a viral coin, like or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
So it's being used to. I know with one company, one student at Georgia State actually went on to create a platform that lets producers um, create music live, and it will timestamp it on the blockchain to maintain that sense of he created it, when was something edited, um, this is the owner. So when it's published, there's no asking about, oh, who's going to get the money like when it starts streaming. It's being logged on the blockchain since it was created.
Wow. This is very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got the lending space, and then a lot of like creative output, and then also privacy.
Yeah.
Awesome. What are some of your favorite crypto projects or altcoin projects that are maybe lesser known?
Yeah, so I've actually got two as recently. Theta is cryptocurrency, and the utility is on Data Network, which is a streaming service,
Like a
it's like the
Spotify?
it's like the Twitch. blockchain equivalent. So they let esports people stream on their platform, and the creators get full. Um, they get their donations, whatever the fans pay for in full. They don't take anything. Um, I don't know exactly how they do this, but it's a very good alternative to like Twitch and other streaming platforms that take a big cut out of their creators' income. They have um, members of like on their board. They have guys from YouTube. They have guys from Google. They've got some pretty heavy hitters, and they're doing pretty good this year.
You said
So Theta,
Theta. What's the ticker?
yeah, it's Theta. So
Oh,
THETA.
okay, awesome.
And then the other one is Dot. It stands for Dot is the ticker, but Polkadot is the company. They're like Ethereum, but they're trying to tackle the issue where if the Ethereum becomes too congested, there's only one blockchain to work off of. Polkadot enables blockchains to be interoperable. This means you can have multiple blockchains on the same network. So when you send a transaction, it's being distributed between different blockchains to lighten the load. So it can accommodate more volume and more people. They're also allowing developers to, when someone writes a smart contract, it's usually only native to that blockchain they created on. But let's say there's another blockchain that has better benefits. In order to do that, they would have to rewrite the entire smart contract. But with Polkadot, you can easily migrate the contracts because they're all supported. Different blockchains are all supported on the same network, so they can easily import them over.
So, can you give us
So
a high level example? Because I think I was a bit confused.
yeah, let's say you
So, if I,
write a program in let's say you write a program in Python,
right,
and you want to actually that's not a good example. I'm trying to think of like a real world example.
well, maybe not
Oh,
real world.
I
Okay, go ahead.
actually I know. Okay, so you can't play Xbox games on a PS5.
Right, right.
Um, so if the network was interoperable, you'd be able to play an Xbox game on the PS5.
Got it.
So Ethereum is just Xbox games can only be played on the Xbox. If you try playing on a PS5, you can't play it. Um, but let's say somebody wanted to play an Xbox game on the PS5, they would go to Polkadot, and Polkadot would have both support for PS5 and Xbox, so you can play a
Oh, that's
PS5
sweet.
game on the Xbox, and you play an Xbox game on the PS5.
Got
So
it.
that's
So
a
you
good
can trade
example.
like you can trade different coins with different wallets. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and you can run different programs on different blockchains without having to rewrite the entire thing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna put some coins in there.
Yeah, I mean it's not financial advice, but these are projects that a lot of people invest in altcoins because they're just everything other than Bitcoin, and then it's something to make
Definitely,
money off
yeah,
of.
definitely
There
cheap.
are projects that if you actually look into it, they're doing some pretty good things.
Right, right. I'm a just so everybody knows, I'm a big BAT fan. Love Basic Attention Coin or token and how they're decentralizing private data. So essentially,
And you
what
get paid
this
for your
say again?
you get paid for your attention.
Exactly. You're so every time you go on to Facebook, you're getting pixeled by their tracking system. So everything you click on, they know, and they use that data to leverage to advertisers. But so you got three components to this, right? You have the advertiser, you have the platform, and then you have yourself, who's providing the data. Both parties, advertiser and the platform, are both benefiting from your data. So what Basic Attention Token does is it allows you to benefit from your own data by allowing you to get compensated for it in a small way. So if you view an ad, you get compensated for it, and you get BAT token or BAT coins. And those BAT coins can then be used to tip content creators, or you can cash out yourself. So if you enjoyed this podcast, let's just say you can tip me and Tariq, in order to, you know, say that you enjoyed the podcast and give us some tip. Like, it's a very interesting way to face the data problem that we're seeing in the world, because we're seeing a lot of, as technology advances, we're going to see a lot of pushback from people and their privacy of data. And this started when Facebook unleashed, you know, the Cambridge Analytica stuff, and we have all of this
Mm-hmm.
uproar. And now we're having
Yeah.
films like Social Dilemma on Netflix that's showcasing, you know, the actual the actual conglomerates and how they actually use your data and all of this. So people are becoming aware of this, and I see BAT as a very good solution to this problem. So I'm interested. I'm very interested to see the application of data privacy in the future, and you know how BAT fits into that.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Like, especially with the kids being born into the world today, they're being born into the age of the internet. And so
Right.
they're born accessing devices from a very young age, and data's been collected on them from when they're just like little kids.
Yeah. Exactly.
Once we start to learn that we're becoming like kind of dependent on the data and like how it's leveraged against us by using a platform like Brave to accumulate BAT, we're kind of reclaiming the data that was once being used just for someone else's purpose.
And benefit ultimately.
Yeah, benefit.
Absolutely. Well, man, the blockchain space sounds very, very. It sounds like it's our generation's, you know, dot com big dot com boom. You know, so I'm really
Yeah.
excited for this technology. Really excited for what's to come. My last question to all of my guests are: first of all, you know, what do you think the world is going to look like in 10 years within the blockchain industry, or holistically, how blockchain is going to be integrated into society in 10 years from now?
10 years from now, it will become the underlying technology to a lot of our failing systems. The society should have a basic understanding of what blockchain is and how cryptocurrencies function around 10 years from now, and it will work with a lot of the technology. We've become so like used to it, we don't really think twice about it being used. Like
Right.
we don't really think, oh, how is banking being, how the information is being stored. Blockchain will create a standard, and that standard will be implemented in society, whether it's a replacement or an addition. And we will go about using technology knowing that it's secured by this technology. So it will become a part of the mainstream's life, and everyone would have a basic knowledge of it. They don't have to be an expert about it. It would just be something that you'd have to know as you're in tech, and you'd have to know how it works. As far as cryptocurrencies go, I think a lot of people will start leveraging it more. Um, Money is not everything, but if you have it, might as well make it work for you, make the most out of it. Um, I think the kids that grow up will have a better sense of ownership and control over what they worked hard for, and they'll be better at the internet than we were when we first got started. Um, Maybe they might still be toxic on social media. They might be little fiends on the internet. They might still think they can get away with anything they want, but I think it will be good to have a generation where everyone is conscientious about how their data is being used, what's going on, and how to really leverage the internet to their fullest potential. So we'll see a lot of innovation from the mentality that blockchain and cryptocurrencies bring.
Agreed. I think it just starts with education, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know, slowly
and
but
that's where I
surely.
am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the education, so I'm gonna be pushing for this probably my whole life. So just see
Awesome.
how that goes.
For sure. Yeah. Same here. I think that this technology is the future, and I really appreciate your time. It's been a blast. It hasn't even felt like an hour, but it's been an hour, and
Yeah,
we've gone through a lot. I think people can take a lot out of this talk and really understand the fundamentals of blockchain, crypto, difference between it, and then you know basic vocabulary.
yeah, I think it was very, thanks for having me. One way I can describe like this space, just like some of the conversations we had during this podcast, it's a rabbit hole. Like it's so early that there's so much to talk about and you can get lost in a lot. And you'll see like just how space is, that's how the conversation went sometimes. It's very exciting and there's a lot to cover, but we not have much time. But there are plenty of resources online that you can go to find condensed information that can help you out a lot.
Yeah, let's leave the listeners with some information and resources. So where can they find more out?
Yeah, so if you're looking for fundamental and technical knowledge, I would go to academy.binance. You can just type that into Google. You can also go to CoinMarketCap to view like the metrics of current cryptocurrencies. And you can also go to YouTube. Um, there's a couple good videos that simply explain blockchain. Just type that in. It'll be a good Kickstarter. And that's pretty much it for the resources I have to supply you guys.
Right.
But they're good. Don't get lost in crypto Twitter. A lot of those people are just shilling you their own bags. You can get a little bit of humor from them, but don't go for don't go into crypto Twitter expecting to learn anything that
if you
isn't gonna
wanna
mess you up.
if you wanna trade or buy any, you can go to Coinbase or Binance is a more advanced platform. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you guys stay safe out there. Make sure that you get into the crypto space. Where can they find you, Tariq?
You can find me on Instagram at underscore Tariq Wassem. That's TariqWassem. And you can visit my organization if you're a college student. I highly recommend you visiting our website. All the resources are open to you. Website is blockchaingsu.com.
Awesome. All right, thanks for all the great information, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Good stuff.